Well, hello. I'm here to do my monthly book wrap up and do my reviews. There's going to be a few changes again to my channel. I know I'm just trying to, well, it'll never be perfect, but I'm trying to make it feel right. I have to make tweaks every now and again to try to get this channel to be what I want it to be. What I want to start doing is have this video be a conglomeration of different videos. After I read a book, I want to be able to sit down and talk to you then about what I thought of the book instead of waiting until the end of the month, because then I'm fresh on it. I don't want to tell you what I thought when I'm not fresh on what I just read. The book I want to talk to you about in this part of the video is Mary, An Awakening of Terror by Nat Cassidy. This book, we've been down some roads together. I've been reading it for 3 weeks now. 3 weeks. I know. This keeps happening to me lately, though, where it takes me a long time to read a really good book. This one is 402 pages long. And as you can see, it's kind of beat up. The book arrived bent like this. The first about this many pages were bent forward. So that's kind of fun. And then right after I started this book, we adopted a dog from our local shelter, which has been a wonderful, beautiful experience. But part of training her is trying to get her used to being around me when I read books and not jumping on the books or knocking them out of my hand or that kind of thing. She's getting a lot better about it. But in the meantime, this book just got a little bit more wear and tear. This poor book has been through a lot. But maybe it's supposed to be that way because the character in the book really went through a lot. In this book, we are in the head of Mary. And Mary is an outcast. She is very shy and to herself, and she just doesn't have the experience of this world that a lot of us do with friends and family and coworkers and all that kind of stuff. I mean, she does have coworkers, but I wouldn't say they're her friends. So she is living in New York City, and she ends up going home, back home to a small town, which the thought of that is creepy for me. I'm one of those weird people that prefer the city. I'm not a town person or a small town person. I find it a little disconcerting, to be honest with you. She goes back to this small town to take care of her Aunt Nadine. And while all this is going on, she's experiencing a lot of the symptoms of premenopause. And there's a lot of crazy things that start happening. This is a horror novel. I would say that I highly recommend it for anybody that loves horror novels. But if you're on the fence about horror novels, or you maybe have just started reading them and you're not really sure what you think, you might want to wait a while to read this one, because this is an actual horror novel. It's creepy, it's scary, it's grotesque, it's bloody, it's prickling on your skin. I got goosebumps multiple times. I thought about not reading it anymore multiple times, not because it's not a good book, but because it was gross. It's like, do I want to keep reading this? Or I'd read a part and I'd have to sit and digest it for a day or two before I could keep reading. Aside from that, it took me so long to read this book because of our new dog, Olive. She has been such a joy. But the first 2 weeks that we had her, there was so much attention, extra attention, that we both needed to put on her with getting her used to our home and our lives, and us getting used to her and getting a schedule going and kind of training her to get used to different sounds. Because we do live in a city, there's a bunch of sounds that she's going to hear that might be new or disturbing to a dog. So I really was putting a lot more of my attention into Olive than I would be reading or well, quite a few other things in my life the first few weeks. I didn't clean the house. I really let a lot of things go that first 2 weeks. So maybe it really took me a week to read this, if you take those 2 weeks out of the equation. But this is a hard book to read. It's a very honest book. It's humiliating to read it. I think a lot of us have had humiliating moments in our lives, and this book will remind you of those. I really felt attached to Mary. I felt a connection with her. I thought it was a really good, solid book. I give it 4 stars, though. And the reason I don't give it 5, it's not that I didn't love the book. I did. There's parts of this book that will forever be tattooed on my brain. I'm not going to forget this book. I'm sure I will reread it at some point. But my issue with the book was that, this is going to sound funny, there's probably people that think, what? It wasn't long enough. I wanted to know more about what happened between when Mary left Arizona and when she went back. It was kind of like reading about Jesus in the Bible, where there's this huge chunk of life that I knew nothing about. And I just wanted to know a little bit more about her life during that time. I wouldn't have minded knowing more about her childhood. I wanted there to be more about her and her aunt and that storyline until it ended. I would have liked to have had more loved ones in this world, in this book. Especially some of the directions that he started going in with the loved ones. It really got kind of... and my brain started going further with the loved ones than the book went. And I thought, gosh, I kind of wanted that too. The author also mentions in here that we're probably all wondering why there's a man writing about menopause, and does that man have the right to write about menopause? I'm going to throw my 2 cents in, and I'm sure not everyone will agree with me, but I'm fine with that. I'm happy that someone's talking about it. I don't understand why with men, as men age, they get more and more celebrated, but with women are really only celebrated until, ooh, she's getting older, she's aging, she's middle-aged. I don't know why. Why can't we celebrate being middle-aged or older? For me personally, life gets so much better the older I get. I get more secure in myself and more comfortable with who I am, and I've figured out who I am so much more than when I was younger. And the sex gets so much better the older you get. I mean, I don't understand why we act like it's such a bad thing. Also, nobody really talks about menopause, and I'm very happy that somebody's talking about menopause. But when it comes to the subject of who has the right to write about different subjects, I've made up my mind that I think anyone should be able to write about anything. That's to say otherwise would be to really stifle creativity. Otherwise, if we start saying that we can only write about people that look like us, live our lives, sleep with the same kinds of people that we sleep with, vote the way we vote, so on and so forth, we're going to have to all just write memoirs and just stop writing anything else from here on out. And to me, that's very excessive. Very excessive. I want creativity. I want people to have to imagine what it would be like to be somebody else. That's part of the beauty of reading books, is reading other experiences, but also reading other people's imagination about what other experiences would be like. So I'm going to say that I think it's perfectly fine for a man to write about menopause. And add to it, he was very considerate and sensitive to the whole situation. He talked to women about it. He seems to really have put a lot of thought and heart into writing about this subject. So I'm all for it. I applaud it. I'm happy that somebody's talking about menopause, because it's like our society likes to act like it doesn't happen, and yet it affects everyone's life. I just hope to get to the age where I start going through menopause, because it means I made it that far, and I'm not ready to stop living yet. I want to live to be older. I'm back. It's actually 2 weeks later. A lot's happened since I last talked to you. Marty's here with me, as you can see. We ended up going on having our staycation. To me, it felt like we went on vacation, but I don't think it felt that way as much to Brad. But so I didn't end up going fishing, and stayed home with the pets. And it's kind of crazy. I did not get anywhere near as much reading done as I thought I would, because the amount of time at home was kind of spare or sparse. We went to the Hoover Dam and we went hiking. We did a vlog of the Hoover Dam and a vlog of one of the hiking days, and we had a day where we were out shopping and doing stuff, and we just had a lot of fun, watched a lot of movies and TV shows, and relaxed. We went out for brunch a lot, which was wonderful. Went out to dinner a lot. And I do have a souvenir here. It's this owl necklace. Brad got this for me the day that we vlogged hiking. There was a lady on the roadside near where we had kind of a early dinner after hiking, and she was a Navajo lady from the Hualapai tribe, and she makes jewelry herself, and this is one of the necklaces that she made. And Brad saw me admiring it, and he wanted to get it for me, so this is my fun souvenir to remember our staycation. But we had a lot of fun, and being out doing so much, obviously I wasn't reading. And even when we were driving to these different places, we were listening to podcasts. We weren't listening to the book that I'm reading, because why would he care about that, right? I did end up vlogging the hiking day and the Hoover Dam, and I will let you know when those are posted in case you're interested in watching those. Maybe you've never been to the Hoover Dam or hiking in Nevada. I've really been savoring the books that I'm reading. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to speed read. I don't want to feel like, okay, I have to read X amount of books a month, because I fell into that trap, and I don't like being in that trap. I love reading, and I want to keep loving reading. I don't want to feel like it's a chore or a job or something, because I'm not getting paid for it, right? It's not a job. I did end up listening to Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman, and that was a very fun book to listen to. It was right before our staycation that I listened to that one, and it was hard to stop listening to. I was immediately enchanted by it. If you like mystical realism books, I recommend it. There was nowhere near as much witchiness as I thought there would be. I thought there'd be all kinds of stuff about studying the craft and spells and that kind of stuff, and it was just not quite that at all. In fact, I was surprised even that it's considered to be a witchy book, because it just didn't feel that witchy to me. I understand the aunts were witches, but were the sisters witches? I'm not sure. I mean, it just didn't really feel like it to me. It just felt like they were maybe very spiritual, or maybe had some mystical gifts, but they didn't seem to really be exploring them or working on them. So it's just kind of odd in that way. I think part of my issue with the book is the movie is one of my favorite movies. I just love that movie, and I like the movie more. I know, I do. It was very different from the movie. The storyline in so many different ways was so different, and yeah, I like the movie more. The other thing is, the ending really fell flat for me. So I enjoyed it. I liked the writing. I liked the journey of it. but it fell kind of flat for me. And I give it 4 stars just because I was so enchanted with the story, but I don't think it's something that I would read again, and I don't know how much I even really recommend it to people, because it just, I don't know, it just felt like as time has gone by since reading it, I'm less in love with it and more in love with the movie. I don't know if I've had that happen before, where I love a movie more than the book. Have you ever had that happen before? If you have, let me know, because I want to know. It's a kind of a crazy foreign thought to me. Brad was kind enough to bring me Marty's cat tree, so he ran away, but maybe he'll come back and sit on it so that you guys can see his handsome face. I did go through a few manga books. I read the Judge 2 book. There's still not anything about the different sins or what the different people did that was naughty to get there. And that's what I'm here for. I want to know more about the 7 deadly sins. Not about them. I mean, I know what they are, but what did these people specifically do that related to the 7 deadly sins to get locked up in this Saw-esque warehouse? Or, actually, no, it's not a warehouse. It's a courthouse. But what did they do to get there? The protagonist decided in the first book to try to save everyone, but someone didn't listen. Now people are making alliances, so that's kind of picking up the pace a little bit, and the first person has met their judgment, which it wasn't quite what I was expecting. It was just, I thought when each person meets their judgment, they would sit in front of a judge kind of character and hear what they had done to deserve their demise, but no. So I am still enjoying this series, but it's not this epic, amazing journey that I thought it would be so far. I thought it'd be like Squid Games, where I'd just be on the edge of my seat. Have you seen Squid Games? I gave this one 3 stars. Then I read number 3. Still no information about the sins and what people did to get there. I'm trying to figure out who to trust, who to believe. People are getting more cunning, and there's a new room that's been opened up. 3 stars on this one as well. Then I read book number 4. Still no sins, but it's starting to heat up. It's starting to get more exciting for me. It's more suspenseful, and there was a twist at the end that I really liked. I kind of wish these character heads that you see here, they came off very quick in I think it was in the first book. And I wish they had stayed on, because I'm kind of having a hard time telling the difference between the different characters. And I give this one 4 stars. So it's getting better. It's heating up. I also read Locke Key. This one is by Joe Hill. And this one, this is one that when Brad and I went on our date night and we went to Barnes & Noble, this is one of the graphic novels that I purchased. And I had said before in my manga library video that I don't think that the first graphic novel in a series would ever be a 5-star, but I was wrong. I loved this one. I thought it was so good. It's about a family whose dad gets murdered, and they end up moving, the mom and the 3 kids end up moving to go live with their uncle, the kid's uncle. And all kinds of spooky stuff starts happening at this mansion that the uncle lives in. And it's really entertaining. It's really picking up. I already bought the second one because I couldn't not buy the second one, but I haven't read it yet. I'm planning on starting it tonight. I'm really glad that I own a copy because I want to have each of the volumes. I'm not sure how many there are. Obviously, I'll find out. But, oh, I just love this book so much. It really was what I was looking for when I decided to start reading graphic novels. Beautiful. As part of the Thrill a Month book club that AJ Dunn has put on, I read Strangers. And this book, it took me a long time to read, like 2 weeks, to the point where when I was on my staycation, I didn't even read the book that I had you guys vote on. It actually ended up being a tie between these two books. And I really enjoyed reading the first chapter of both of these books, so I'm just going to read both of them this month. Which probably means I'll only read these 2 books this month, because The Goldfinch is almost 800 pages long. And one thing I've been doing lately, like I mentioned, is I've been savoring the books that I'm enjoying. I've been really just letting myself enjoy reading them. And that's what happened with this one. It took me almost 2 weeks to read it. It was 681 pages long. But boy, was this book worth reading. It's got 12 protagonists, and it goes very deep into each of those protagonists and their lives. And I fell so in love with these characters. I was so invested in them. I really cared about what happened to them. And the other people in the book club also really enjoyed this book and felt really attached to the characters. Now, it doesn't start out with all 12. It kind of slowly weaves some of them in. But it starts out with 3 protagonists, and they're all from very different walks of life, and they all have something in common. They don't know each other, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, because each of them has a new fear that they've never had before, and they're trying to figure out where it came from. Zelda, hi. Put that here for Marty, and Zelda, oops, sorry, and Zelda shows up. Hi, baby girl. So they're trying to figure out, oh, you giving the book some more love? Her fur is all over this book. She's been snuggling with it a lot, huh? Yeah. They're trying to figure out where these new fears came from, and they start getting clues from someone, some mysterious clues that lead them all to the same place. And then the other characters, as they're starting to figure out where they need to go, more protagonists start coming into the story. And so there's an event that had happened that brought them all together, and you spend most of the book trying to figure out what that event was. And it's a beautiful book. I really enjoyed it. I really loved the characters. It is pretty slow at points, especially in the beginning, but it makes sense why everything is there. I can't think of any parts of the book that the author could have removed. I would say it is a mystery. It is a thriller. It felt sci-fi at times. It felt a little bit fantasy at times. There were times that I laughed, and there was times that I was really on the edge of my seat. And I feel like this might be a good book for anybody. I'm trying to think of who wouldn't like it, and I'm drawing a blank. I really just think it's a good, solid read. I think it's got a good message. It's something to think about. But it really does have quite a few themes. And I'm sorry I'm not saying more about what the book is about, but I don't want to spoil it. I think this is one of those books that would really, it would behoove the reader to just pick it up with no idea what it was about. That's what I did, and I'm glad I did it that way. I'm really glad that I savored it the way I did. I don't know that I'll read it again, though. I feel like it's so good and it's so fascinating, but once you've read it and you know how it ends, that's probably it. My one gripe about it, aside from kind of dragging on at times, is that I don't know that I cared for the ending. I felt like there was still more that I wanted to know about certain things, and I wanted to know how things turned out for some of the characters after the book ended. Because of that, I give it 4 stars. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Happy reading. Bye.